Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be talking about few questions that I have received with respect to front end on Twitter and elsewhere. If you're not connected to me on Twitter, you can head on to link in the description box. You can directly DM me your queries with respect to front end interviews and front end interview processes because that's what I generally talk about. And if you haven't checked out my blog, please check the link in the description box where basically I have documented all my front end interview experiences in top tech companies, the questions I was asked, and the entire process. So that will be a great help for you. So, moving on, the first question that I received was whether you need to know backend in order to be a good front end engineer. It's no, because if you look at the top tech companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Uber, and any other company, they have a specific role, that is the front end engineer role, and it requires to have a unique set of skills. It can be JavaScript, it can be web performance, it can be React, it can be anything related to front end, and that is not an easy task for someone else to do that unless you have a strong hold on front end. So no, you don't need to know backend. Like backend engineers are not supposed to know front end. Are front end engineers paid on par with backend engineers? Answer to that is yes, because engineers are hired at a certain level in each company. It can be SD1, SD2, SD3, lead, and so on. All of these levels have their own band of salary, and no matter whether you are a front end engineer or a back end engineer, your salary will be in the same range for each level. Although the salaries depend a lot on your counter offers, so if you don't have good counter offer, you can be lowballed, but that is another thing. Main thing is that there is no salary difference. There are guys in front end with higher salary than back end. There are guys in back end with a much higher salary in front end. uh, that is a unique case which depends on each individual's interview performance and more on the counter offers he or she has. So another question is how to switch from a service based company to a product based company. So for this question, I don't have any particular experience, but I have friends who have done this. And what has worked for them is switching from a service based company to a smaller startup, learning the required set of skills, and then moving on to the bigger product based companies, because bigger product based companies sometimes differentiate between the candidate if one has a startup background or if another has a service based background, and generally they don't prefer a candidate from service based companies. Reason behind that is these companies assume that service based folks won't be able to adapt fast, they won't be able to learn fast, they are not happy with changes, all of these things, which I don't believe in any kind of stereotypes. I have seen great engineers coming from service based companies, and there are many companies which actually don't differentiate, but still there are many who do. So if you want to deal with that, you have to switch to a startup, product based startup with good tech stack, because reason for leaving your current service based company maybe compensation, maybe employee benefits, but the main reason that I have seen with folks is that is the tech stack is not good enough to compete with current market requirements. So your skills should always be in sync with the market. So in your current service based company, if you are working in some outdated tech, it's time to move on. And if everything is going fine, then no worries. Another question is that is it okay to focus only on front end for 10 years? See, if you're planning to build your career in a company, it is absolutely okay to build your career in front end, because front ends have their own SD1, SD2, SD3 leads, engineering managers who understand front end. And ever since client side rendering has started, And ever since these frameworks have come, like React, Vue, Angular and all, there is a major functionality of a app or website is handled by JavaScript or by front-end engineers. Back-end engineers still deal with the data and anything that happens on the other side of the API, which is again a challenging thing in itself. But yeah, front-end engineers are supposed to do a lot of things: input performance, memory optimizations, performance of the application on low bandwidth. So all of those things like requires a lot of effort, and it is okay to focus only on front end. If you are planning to start a business going forward or become a freelancer, then you need to know the backend as well, or you can use some backend as a service like Firebase. That's another thing. Is that do managers differentiate between front end engineers and backend engineers? Answer to that is no, because as I have already mentioned, front end itself is very challenging. So it's not that front end engineer is putting less effort compared to a back end engineer. Even improving a performance of a website or load time of a website by few milliseconds take a lot of effort. So these are not simple things that anybody can do it. So yeah, managers don't differentiate between front end engineer and back end engineers, and everybody is paid almost similar as well, and it doesn't affect your performance as well. The question is that what will be a great project to start in order to switch in a good company? I would say you can head on to the link in the description. I have mentioned 4 5 projects which are generally interview questions of top tech companies, and I think that will be a good starter point. You can start with those projects. Take an example of some existing websites, good websites on the same concept, and try to clone their UI and their functionality. You can use performance tools to measure performance as well, and make sure that your website looks and feels professional. You are able to do all the functionalities properly. For example, I can say that you can start with the application which has searching, sorting, pagination on the client side, and you optimize the search, use debounce, use throttle. There are many other ways to do that. Write reusable components that can be used anywhere. Learn micro front end architecture. There are a lot of things. You can head on to link in the description box, and I have also shared front end roadmap, things that you can learn to become a professional front end engineer, things that folks use in large tech companies, libraries, tools, frameworks. So all those I have mentioned in that article. You can again check the link in the description box. And if you can do that, learn those libraries and tools, frameworks, and have a very strong hold on JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And if you're able to solve those 3 4 assignments that I have given, I think you are good to go for any sort of front end interview. How to not land in a wrong company? This is very important because you cannot switch companies every month. I mean, you can do that, nobody is stopping you from doing that, but again, if you are accepting an offer and joining a company, mentally you expect to settle for a year or so and work there, learn few things, enjoy a few benefits and all. So it is very important that you don't regret your decision once you go into that company. So I would say is that you should trust your gut feeling when you are interviewing for that company, when you are talking to the hiring manager, because he is the person you'll be reporting to, and he is the person who will be controlling the culture of the team. And I would say that ask questions. Don't ask direct questions, but ask questions about how the sprint planning is done, how often you have scrums, how is the work-life balance, what are the employee benefits, and a lot of other things you can ask to get a proper clarity. Read on Glassdoor, read on Blind, read on levels.fyi, check that you're getting the right offer. So if you have good compensation, it can somewhat balance if things are not going your way for a certain period of time. But yeah, if in longer period, if something is not working out, it's not working out. No matter how what is the compensation you're getting. So that is another thing. So check all of these things and make sure you don't land in a wrong company, because uh, it is important for your career growth. And if even after checking all of this you land in the wrong company, you have to resign. Don't worry about what other recruiters will say or what other companies will say that you're leaving in 2 months, 1 month. Doesn't matter. There are many companies who will still be able to offer you, give you a right offer, and you can join them without any problem, because they also understand that sometimes employee can be unsatisfied with their job, and there is no problem, absolutely no problem in that. So these are the questions. If you have any other question, uh, reach out to me on Twitter, DM your questions. I'll be happy to answer that. And if it's a smaller question, I will answer you on Twitter itself. If not, I'll make a video like this. And subscribe to my channel for such content. Definitely go to the link in the description box and check my blog, because that is definitely going to be a game changer in your interview preparation. Bye and see you again.